Now we're going to welcome to the stage Gerry Rogers, who is very well known here in the St. John's community. Mrs. Rogers is bringing personal condolences as well as condolences on behalf of the NDP.
In May 2010, Raymond, who was writing for Waves magazine in Halifax, wrote an article for May 17th, International Anti-Homophobia Day. And he wrote, and I've shortened it a bit, "The evening began routinely enough as I got together with the Waves team for our monthly planning meeting. After a quick discussion, we settled on an obvious and important theme for the May issue, marking International Day Against Homophobia. It turned into a particularly engaging discussion, and on this particular Tuesday night, some of us decided to regroup at Men's Bar to carry on our conversation over a few beers. I decided to walk home, which is a normal thing for me to do. I was feeling a beer-inspired peckishness, so I dropped into the Big Slice at Halifax's capricious pizza corner. The detour's not routine, but not unusual. I was in my hood, barely a block from my door. All seemed pretty normal to this point. I bought a slice of pizza and struck up a conversation with the guy in the line behind me. The kind of thing that tends to carry on to one of those many stand-up tables. As I chowed down on my pizza slice, another guy who seemed to be accompanying the one I was chatting with suddenly, caustically asked me if I'm gay. I gave a matter-of-fact yes, shrugging my shoulders as if to say, "And your point is?" He retorted with, "Well, you're too gay for me," or something to that effect. And before I knew it, I was on the receiving end of a backhand to the head. Shock, fear, bewilderment, anger. These were some of the feelings that flashed through me as I glared at my assailant and his friend, who quickly made their way to the exit. Anger is what lingered, though, as I pulled out my cell phone and dialed 911. I followed the two out the door and told the 911 operator, sorry, mitts. I told the 911 operator what had transpired and attempted to give a description of my assailant. With the operator on the line, I followed them down the street, down Argyle, then up Sackville and on to Brunswick, where the two split up and ran in opposing directions. I did my best to pursue them. I wouldn't be sharing this with you if this whole experience weren't so terribly laden with irony, given the subject of the Waves meeting earlier in the evening. Unwelcomed reminders at best. But it reminded me firsthand about how vulnerable we are, even when we don't think so. It reminded me that as a member of Halifax's LGBT community, I take my own safety for granted. And I do so because I live my life freely and openly. I took some important things away from this experience. I cannot take my safety for granted. Being shocked by this, in a way, is a good thing, because it indicates we may have come to understand this kind of thing as an increasingly infrequent occurrence in our more tolerant and accepting community. I feel the experience empowered me because instead of doing nothing, I chose to act. Perhaps my assailant caught the drift that I wasn't going to give up my pursuit when he began a full gallop down Brunswick Street. But I note not everyone would have responded the same way as I. It's tempting in this day and age of legislative liberties to think that a personal or collective vigilance is no longer required. It's easy to lull ourselves into complacency, thinking there's nothing more left to fight for, or nothing more to achieve. Fighting back comes in many forms, reaching out, building bridges, educating, and if need be, defending ourselves from physical harm. I've been reminded firsthand via backhand why I'll be marking May 17th. This evening, we not only stand in mourning for our loss of Raymond, social activist, drag queen, creative pusher back. We not only stand in mourning for our loss of Raymond, who has given us so much, but we celebrate. We celebrate the great gains we have made as a community. And I want to thank my brothers and sisters, our brothers and sisters, in the lesbian, gay, transgendered, bisexual, queer communities who have worked with passion and compassion, with wisdom and determination, with courage and creativity and style, who stepped out when it was more dangerous to step out, who dared to work for our rights, for social justice. We have accomplished much in legislation, in the arts, in education, in commerce. We feel pain today, but we mustn't hate, and we mustn't love less. We must love even more fiercely. We have a right to live in liberty fully. Do it, be it, shout it. Occupy every single space. We are everywhere. We are here, we're queer, they're used to us. I want to thank our queer-friendly allies who have stood beside us, who have stood up for us, who have worked with us to make this a better world for everyone. Do not be afraid. I am not afraid. And I would like to leave this evening with a few quotes from some of our very courageous and wonderful gay and lesbian, transgendered, queer writers. From Adrienne Rich. It's exhilarating to be alive in a time of awakening consciousness. It can also be confusing, disorienting, and painful. She also wrote, if you are trying to transform a brutalized society into one where people can live in dignity and hope, you begin with the empowering of the most powerless. You build from the ground up. And Walt Whitman, read these leaves in the open air every season of every year of your life. Re-examine all you have been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul. And your very fresh flesh will be a great poem and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body. Audre Lorde, I am deliberate and not afraid. Walt Whitman again, we convince by our presence, resist much, obey little. So let us dance, let us love, let us celebrate, let us continue to be daring. And Oscar Wilde wrote, to become a work of art is the object of living. I want to thank Raymond who had become such a masterpiece in the work for our rights and for social justice. And for all of us, let us continue to develop our lives as works of art. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Gerry Rogers. Okay.